So have you done a lot of self-work, everything that you can think to do around money, but you're still having difficulties? You've done shadow work and meditation and mantras and everything that you can think of, but you still have trouble attracting money, or if once you attract money, you have a hard time keeping it still. Well, you might want to access the Akashic Records about this. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, beloved. My name is Tamala Malay, your empowerment professor, psychic, and partner. And welcome to your empowerment place. So in our last video, we talked about what the Akashic Records are and where they are. And now we're going to talk about why would we check them specifically around money. Now I'm going to do a different one when we talk about relationships. These two things can be intermingled because a lot of times we do make relationship choices about money or money choices around relationships. So they can be intertwined, but they also can be different. And it can be a different issue for money versus relationships, right? It depends on how it's showing up for you. And today we're specifically going to talk about money because with COVID, with people being unemployed, with all of the things that are going on in the financial industries, financial markets, financial availabilities right now, it seems really important. It looks like having experiences of doing everything that you know to do. You've done meditations, you've done shadow work, you do mantras, you do vision boards, you do abundance journals, and you just can't. You just can't. And it doesn't make any sense because you're doing all the right things, you're checking all the right check boxes, and either you can't attract money, or when you do attract money and you get a little bit of savings, something happens. The HVAC system breaks down and all that money goes away again. And then you start the cycle over. I see this all the time with my clients when we do Akashic record work. And what happens is we actually in the records find the root cause that is creating that block and restriction for you around money. So I'm going to give you an example. And I want to just state here, this example is for general purposes, okay? Everybody's experience is going to be different. Everybody's energy and resonance is going to be different. Everybody's chakra system and mental or emotional body is going to be different. So this is just a 50,000 feet view, if you will, okay? Well, when I go into the records for you, there are certain places that I look, there's certain questions that I ask to gather the information about choices that you made in your current life and in your past lives. Because if we don't complete something before we die, that means complete the karmic cycle, make different choices, right? We make a choice to disempower ourselves. During that lifetime, we don't make a choice to re-empower ourselves. We continue to be disempowered. When we die or leave that lifetime, when we're born for a future incarnation, we still have that karmic cycle. We haven't resolved it yet. And so sometimes when we can't clear it from doing, you know, the normal things, right? The meditations, mantras, stuff like that. It's because we didn't create the problem in this lifetime. We have to actually go back to find which lifetime it happened in, right? When was it? What was the choice that was made that created this now block or restriction that you have around this money issue? Is it running a particular resonance, like energy of lack or codependence or desperation or fear, right? And does it resonate in a particular chakra system? So for instance, if it showed up in the second chakra, that would be, let's say the energetic resonance was lack, okay? It would be lack around second chakra issues, which are sex, money, creation, manifestation, or children. And then if it showed up in a thought or emotional body, then it would either be thoughts about lack around sex, money, creation, manifestation, or children, or emotions, feelings around lack about those things, right? And so it's really super useful, super important to be able to find out these root causes, because what we discover is we're recreating those patterns in this current lifetime, okay? Everything that we're doing, the reason that it's still in our life right now is because we're continuing to perpetuate the choice. So what we do in this Akashic record work that I do is actually find the root cause and clear it out, and then teach you how to make more aligned choices, right? How to stop making those same choices, right? Because you don't want to continue that pattern. And so that's how we actually change our lives. So what could that look like in a reading? Remember, we're doing 50,000 foot view. So this is going to be a generality, but let's say it might be something like this. Okay. 4 lifetimes ago, you incarnated as a female and you fell in love with someone and wanted to marry them, but you were from a wealthy family and your beloved was very poor, and your family refused to allow you to marry him because he was poor, and they wanted you to marry somebody wealthy to create affluence for yourself and for them. And you didn't want to do that. So you ran away with your beloved and y'all got married, and you swore to each other that y'all were going to do whatever it took so that you could be together and support one another financially. And so this created a pact. And a pact is an agreement between 2 people that means that they have to give up something. Okay, they had to give up something in order to get what they want. She had to, you being the she, the female, had to give up your family in order to have what you wanted, which would be your love, right? But you also had to give up your family's money and wealth and status and privilege in order to have love. Okay. Now let's just say that that was running the energy of lack in your 2nd chakra. So it could be now in this life, every time that you have a choice about relationships, you either settle for someone who has wealth and affluence, but you're not happy, or you always go for the guy who has no money, and you end up having to work really hard and suffer financially, and there's always money problems and so forth, right? Now, the story would continue because usually these continue to build on themselves, right? You make one choice that creates a problem, then we make another choice, and then we make another choice, right? And so we find out exactly what was the choice that you made that created it, and then we clear it out. And once we clear it out, it gives you the ability then to not continue to create those cycles. So you can begin to work on your thoughts if it was a thought process, right? The thought process might be, God, all the guys I date are broke, right? We want to change that, because if you're continuing to think that, the universe is bringing you what you're thinking, right? If you feel that, if it shows up in your emotional body, if you're feeling that, the universe brings to you based on your emotions, because your emotions fuel the attraction, right? So it's our thoughts and emotions that the universe is able to work with and bring us what we want. So we need to make sure that we're aligning our thoughts and our emotions, but also our actions, because we need to start doing things, taking steps that are going to help us attract the kinds of relationships that we want, that won't diminish our financial situation, our financial income, our financial outgo. You could attract people who you're fine when you're not in relationship, but when you get into relationship, you're broke because they spend all your money. It could be any number of things, and it's going to be different for every single person. That's why it's hard to give kind of a spot on specific, because everybody is going to be different and every situation is going to be different. And we do continue to compound these lifetime after lifetime. And so the huge advantage of clearing this in our Akashic records is not only does it clear it out of our records and we don't have to deal with it anymore, we also get to change our current life that we're in. It can be a relationship, a situation, a financial agreement. We can still change those, even if you're in a relationship now. But it's changing what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and what you're doing to be congruent now, because you're free of that, you know, karmic nonsense, right? You don't have that anymore. And now you can begin to make aligned choices that are going to help you actually attract and keep money. And there's a whole lot more that we go into about your soul purpose and what's an aligned way for you to do that and all that good stuff. So the idea that money is power in the US has been a given understanding for generations. The people who have the money make the rules. And those who don't have money don't get to make the rules. That's been the paradigm that we've been living in. And we're at a state of change, and we'll see what happens moving forward. But the idea of money being something that we have to work hard for, right? We have to work hard for money. Money's not easy, okay? That for me was something that I was taught. And so I believed that, and it became a belief for me. And so why am I telling you this? Because a belief is actually a block or restriction that could separate me from money, right? This belief that money has to be hard, like I have to work really hard for money. What if working really hard is only getting by? And that's what it was for me forever. Right? I worked really hard. I worked 50, 60, 70 hours a week. I worked in jobs I hated. I worked with people that were not nice people to work with, whether they were bosses or customers, right? And it was hard work and I didn't enjoy it. And I barely got by. And it wasn't until I got into the Akashic record work that I found the root causes of that. Some were past life situations that I created, and some were things like beliefs or illusions or pacts or curses or contracts or code corruptions. There's all kinds of things, genetic karma, vows, all kinds of things that it could be. And so as I began to clear them out, right, one layer at a time, clear out everything I could do at this time, do my healing, do my progress, learn how to be in this new state, then clear out the next layer and get peace around that and learn how to live in this new state and then do the next layer, right? It has completely changed everything about my experience. The way I look at money, the way I feel about money, the way I'm in relationship with money itself, the way I'm in relationship with other people around money. It makes a huge, huge difference. So when we talk about some of the blocks or restrictions, and we're just going to talk about these three, and I've already kind of touched on them, but these are just three examples of how we can create blocks or restrictions for ourselves, specifically around money. Now, these can be about anything, right? Relationships, family issues, money, housing, environmental, health, self-care. It can be about anything. Okay, but we're focusing on money today. So if I have a belief is something that I bought into. Okay, I believed it. Somebody said it, I heard it somewhere, I read it somewhere, and I went, oh, okay, I'm going to choose to make that true for me. I believe that. I receive that into my experience as true. Okay, I have to work hard for money. I believed that nonsense. I really did, and I really did have to work desperately hard for money to barely get by. Now, an illusion is something different, okay? A belief is something we buy into. An illusion is a concept that is given to us by society. So It could be that wealthy people are more important or more influential or more, what's the word, inspiring, right? That they're on a pedestal because they're awesome. Rich people are better than poor people, right? Okay, that's an illusion that is a misconception created by society, right? In a capitalistic community, of course, the one with the most money wins, right? That's how it's set up. But that is an illusion that's created by the society that we work in, that we live in, that we function within. And it has become true for us, okay? So that also can show up for us, but it affects us a little bit differently than beliefs do. And so we talk about how all of these impact you directly in the session because they are going to be different for everyone. Now, vows are also different. A vow, in this situation, a good example would be a vow of poverty. Okay, I know I had that in my experience. And basically, that would be something like 14 lifetimes ago, you incarnated as a male, you joined the church, took vows to God, you took a vow of obedience, chastity, and poverty. Okay, so I would have 3 different vows, and they all do something different. But specifically, since we're talking about money, we'll talk about the vow of poverty. So how that vow of poverty shows up is that I only ever have just enough or less of money. Now, a vow of poverty doesn't only have to be money. It can be a poverty of relationships or friendships or support, right? It can be anything. But this vow of poverty around money will literally show up as you only get in just enough to get by, never really more, and sometimes even a little less. Or when you do get money in and you've got, $8,000 in the bank, the HVAC system goes out and there goes that $8,000 and you're starting all over again. That's a very common experience of people who have a vow of poverty. Okay. So why is it important to know about these original choices? Okay. So for instance, with this vow of poverty, I joined the church. I love God. I wanted to serve. And in order to do that, I took these vows. And so those vows, I meant them. I believed them. I dedicated my life to them. And I didn't change that before I died. So when I reincarnated, it comes back and is still true for me, right? That I can only ever have just enough, because when you're a part of the church back then, right? The church covered your food, clothing, and shelter, and you really didn't get paid anything, right? And you didn't have luxurious beds and rooms and stuff. You just got by if you were one of the regular priests, right? Not up in the upper echelons that had all the money. If you were just a regular worker person, you got a cot in a bare room, basically, and a couple of changes of clothes. So that's barely getting by. And I accepted that as what was appropriate and acceptable for me. And so then when I came back into this lifetime, I still believe that on an unconscious level. So even when I would start to make money and I would get some, and this was true, I would panic. I would start panicking. I would start looking for ways to give that money away, because if I had this money, maybe I wasn't a good person. Because I believe, even in this life, I was raised Southern Baptist and I had a connection with Christ from the time I was born. And I just, it was always give to the church, always tithe, always serve and, give away, right? The problem is sacrifice is not abundance. You cannot create abundance from sacrifice. And that's been a huge disconnection. So this vow of poverty literally separated me from my own abundance. I couldn't do it because I still maintained this vow that I had taken. And so once I realized that and I acknowledged, yes, it might have been an appropriate choice for me to have made at that time, maybe, maybe not, but let's just say it was. It's no longer the life that I'm living now. So I'm allowed to make a different choice. And that gave me then my own self, my own permission to clear it out in the Akashic Records, in my real life, and then do the work to change all of that. So to stop sacrificing, to stop working with the illusions, to stop working with those belief systems and taking action based on them. Because remember, what we think, what we feel, and what actions we take are creating our reality. So we have to change all three of those. And so there's a myriad of blocks or restrictions that we could create either in this life or in previous lives that are creating these issues around money. And the only way that we find these in these past lives is really to go into our Akashic Records. The Akashic Records hold all of this information for us. That's what it's there for, right? And so by going into the records and finding out about them, we're able to acknowledge them, release them, clear them, and make different choices. And so you get to really think about this and say, okay, what are those potential blocks and restrictions causing me to have the experience of in this current life? What about my life potentially could be different if I didn't have these blocks and restrictions? And what is it costing me? What's it costing me in time? What's it costing me in money? I don't have the money to take vacations all the time, so I don't have all this extra free time to spend with my children or my family. It's costing me relationships because my husband and I, or my wife and I, or my beloved and I always argue about money. It's costing me sleep and my health because I'm stressed out and I'm worried because I lost my job, or a family member lost their job, or there's not enough money coming in, or there's no security. And so this kind of stuff is big deal, real life, holy smokes kind of stuff, right? This is not like kind of superficial, oh, well, I'm a little bit unhappy with my relationship. No, this is the shit that keeps you up at night. This is the stuff that helps you stay disempowered, helps you stay in a state of disbelief around your own abundance or ability to create abundance. This is the disempowering stuff that we can't get over just by doing a meditation or a mantra or a vision board, right? We got to go back and say, what choice did I make that created it? Am I ready to let that go? I'm ready to let it go, clear it out. Now I'm going to learn how to make different choices. And that whole process is entirely the main focus of my work. And I even teach people how to do this work for others. So something great for you to do this week is to sit down and really consider what all this is costing you around your money, right? The lack of money, the trouble with money, the issues with money, whatever it is, however it's showing up for you in your life. Sit down and journal about it. Sit down and really consider, how is this making my thought life, my emotional life, my physical life, my relationship lives, my self-care life, how is it making all the aspects of me feel, think, and experience this lifetime? And then you can decide if you want to have a session with me. Now, the session that I do is a 4.5 to 5 hour session. So we basically spend the afternoon together. I do an 1.5 hour prep work in the beginning. We're together for 4.5, 5 hours. And then I do some additional 30, 45 minutes worth of work after. So it's a full day's work for me. So it's not going to be cheap, but it is going to be transformative. So I hope this has been helpful for you. Please leave in the comments your thoughts around this. And if you'd like to have a session, you can visit my website at yourempowermentplace.com. And if you are watching this in the month of October 2020, you get an extra special blessing because I am offering a coupon. So you'll use the coupon code October 2020 and you're going to get a surprise blessing. So please remember to subscribe, follow, comment, share, do all the wonderful things to complete the energetic circle of your reception so that you can keep this energy alive in your experience. Take care.